Tonight we're at training here in Lakeville, and joining me is Captain 2 Tabor Aiken. Tabor, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome, Chris. Thanks for having me.
So what are we doing here tonight?
Well, tonight's objective is small tools and ladders. And so we are fortunate enough to have two homes in Lakeville that are going to be torn down. The city owns them to expand out. So we've got one here that's behind us and one next door that Station 3 is using. And this is giving us an opportunity to work on our objective in a real life-like scenario like we might run into in an actual home with an unknown floor plan. That's probably one of our biggest objectives here is, as you can see, there's smoke in this house. We're using artificial smoke, and that means that the firefighters are navigating an unfamiliar floor plan in conditions they might really encounter.
So what are we actually concentrating on if we're not cutting the house up or there's not actual fire?
Yeah, so the focus is using a couple of resources that are a regular part, which are small tools and ladders. An example of small tools would be a chainsaw. Some of our extrication tools are gas power tools that we use on a regular basis. And ladders, quite simply ladders. And for Station 2 and 3, we do not have a ladder truck assigned to us, so we're practicing with ground ladders. So specifically one of the things that we're practicing tonight is using ground ladders to access a second story or upper level of a house, either to get firefighters in to do a search or to get people out. We might set one of those up if we had, say, fire on the first floor and the second floor had an occupant on it. We would ladder the second floor to get that person out to rescue them. Another reason we would use it is if we had crews working on the second level, we'd want to set up a ladder to give them a method of egress so that they could get out if they needed to. If there was an emergency, they have that second exit, which is the ladder out a window.
Okay, and so the other question I have then would be, why do we have charged hoses if there's no fire?
Correct. Well, one of our objectives is to train like we work. And so we work with charged hose lines. And so instead of sending the crews in with uncharged hose lines, empty hose lines, which are really easy to move around, we've charged the hose lines, which creates that more real life application. They're difficult to move around corners. They're difficult to drag. You can see these firefighters here working in the door are having a difficult time getting in and out of the house with charged hose lines. So again, it just makes it more realistic, better prepares us when we actually have to apply these skills in a real life emergency scenario.
Okay, and is this a common type of training where we get old houses to really work with and work on?
Yeah, and I'd say in my experience, it kind of comes and goes depending on what's happening in the city. In the past, we've had some where we actually burned the house, where we got to light fire in there and do some training, and then in the end, the entire house was let to burn down so that whatever else could come in, a new home, development. We haven't done that as much, but I've had some recent experiences where the home is empty. It's not going to be a home anymore. It's going to be torn down, and we're given permission by either the homeowner or whoever is owning it, a developer, to go in, use the property to do some training, and then eventually they're going to come in and tear it down. So we're fortunate. I think this is a really great opportunity for us to get in and do this, because again, it gives us that scenario when we come to a real house fire, we will not have had a chance to walk around and see the floor plan and practice there. So this gives us a similar opportunity where it's unfamiliar, we don't know what we're encountering, and we get to practice.
Okay, Tabor, so you mentioned small tools. Can you give me a couple examples of the actual tools themselves and how we would use them in a structure fire?
Sure. One example would be a chainsaw that all our trucks have. This roof's a little bit different because we've got a tile roof here, but one way we might use the chainsaw is to vent the roof. So we would be cutting a hole in the roof to let the heat, the smoke out, and we're going to try to time that so that we have a crew going in. At the same time, we're trying to ventilate. We don't want to feed oxygen into the fire, but ventilating that in that type of scenario opens up, gives us a little bit more room to see, a little more room to work in the sense that we're letting some of that heat out, and then the crew with the hose line could get in and do some work. A simple example of other small tools are hand tools that we use. An axe, a halligan, we use those pretty regularly. So we would be using those. Anytime a crew is going inside, they're taking those with us. The halligan and the axe together are your irons, and so we're going to be using those for any number of things, to force a locked door open, to move things. A simple tool in a setup like this where the house is smoke-filled is using that tool to help with the search. So you're simply using it to extend your arm. So now instead of your arm ending here, you get another couple of feet on top of it, and you can just swing that out and get an idea, is there an obstacle there? You're bumping into something that says ow, or is it a solid dresser that you're hitting a wall? Right. Just gives you another tool to use to facilitate. And then again, if you're running into say a situation where you've become trapped, and your entrance is now blocked by fire or something else, you've got that axe or that tool to help you create an exit to get out. Whether you're breaching a window or knocking a hole in a wall and finding a way to get yourself out, you still have that tool to use to get you as a firefighter out, or if you found a victim, you've got that to help get them out.
Well, Taylor, thanks for giving us a brief tour of what we're doing tonight and how we can use our tools and unique trainings.
Yeah, you're welcome, Chris. Thanks for having me on.